Alright. What's up, summoners? King Blair here. So today, as the title suggests, we're going to be taking a look at y'all's match history and seeing what things y'all did right, what y'all did wrong, and depending on all the different stuff, and seeing any cool drafts that you guys have. Because I always like to see other people's drafts. It's always super interesting to me to see. Also just seeing if it's just a gear gap or if it's a draft gap. Because a lot of times people think things are gear gaps, but sometimes it could be a gap draft, and seeing a draft and understanding it is a very important part of the whole situation. So we're going to be doing that in a really interesting way. The way we're going to do that is we actually asked earlier on in the Discord, which should be able to be linked right now in the comment on the description. You should be able to go to it, but you can kind of see we're going to be going through a lot of these, and this is the ones that you guys get to send. If you want to send one, you can send it here in match review with a little comment where it's like something you think, oh, I lost because of this or I won because of that, and I can kind of see what may or may not have happened and see if you could have done anything differently. So it's mostly for fun. Should be a good time and maybe help you guys will learn a little bit about drafting and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'll first start with examples in case y'all do want to share your own. But let me turn on my camera and put some music in the background because I always forget to do that. And the music is just so we can relax a little bit. All right, let me get the playlist going, and we're gonna start with one of mine so you guys can get an idea on how this stream's gonna break down. Again, it's gonna be super chill. Y'all can ask me. Y'all can also see some cool drafts. We can just talk about them. But yeah, let me just start this. Lower the Epic 7 volume music because I'm probably gonna be forming Katie's in the in-betweens. And I don't want to just hear Katie's farming because it's just a lot of Seaside Bellona. But okay. Alright, I'm set up. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? What's up, Lunar? And hey, what's up, Kisame? Nice to see you all. What's up, Hufer? It's been a while. But okay, so kind of the breakdown. Let me show you guys an example of what we're trying to do today, right? So, for example, for this one was one of my matches, right? So right here, what I could see, it's like, okay, we'll break down the first pick. And that's actually the video for today is actually top 5 first picks. One shot Katie's, that's super hard, by the way, Kisame. But for example, for this, I'd be like, okay, first pick Landy. Kianya, this was my opponent. He kind of made a mistake here by picking Maid and Amelia because he doubled a lot on supports and didn't give himself a lot of room for DPS, right? So there's a chance he'll run out of DPS, right? And that's the thing that I'm watching out for. But I'm like, okay, if you're picking 2 of these, you're most likely going to be Bruisering, but there's a chance you won't. You might go aggro. So I pick something like Crow to try to punish if they pick Charlotte because they go really well, and then I pick the Violet because, you know, you're able to dodge, you take away the RNG, you add an RNG layer, right? If they don't have the damage, then they're gonna lose. He answers with Strasse, Briarwitch to try to deal with the Violet, and the Strasse to one-shot my Crawl, and then of course I pick Rowana to stop the Strasse, a Ravi because it just does really good into this team. There's a really good chance he just ran out of damage, right? Which is the problem with the 2 supports. And he does kind of with LQC, but at this point in the draft, with this current draft I have, I'm not worried about last pick. I know I can just ban last pick and be okay. So he ends up doing this. I end up getting he ends up pushing Amelia. He pushes the Briarwitch, and then I get the counter attack with Landy, and it's just a GG from there. So it's a good time. So that's how I won, because Landy counterattacked and the Strasse died and then he had no damage, right? There's no way he deals with the rest of my team. So kind of unfortunate on his side, but he just picked a way too squishy team and not enough damage to actually blow through the team that I have. So it's a good time. Hey, what's up, Alvis? Nice to see you. Farm counter set and stat ring. Ooh, that's a really nice farming. But yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be doing. And I'll start seeing y'all's drafts because I know my draft style pretty well. But there's like mistakes you can spot, right? Like this guy's mistake, picking both Maid and Amelia. It's like, yeah, you take away my pick, right? But you're also just giving up like a lot of DPS options for yourself, right? You don't have any mitigation, right? I could have easily, the second I saw this, right? I picked these 2. The second I saw these 2, I could have just gone Fairy Tail and Akali and then he just loses the game. Because I just blow him up regardless, right? So it's one of those things that's like double support picks back to back is not the best thing you could do in the planet, right? So that's his fatal mistake, right? So that was the draft mistake. But wow, 6 AM it's early. And hey, what's up, Ryuji? Nice to see you. Well, yeah, and then for example, for this one, it's one of my mistakes. So this one, you can kind of see what the mistake was. I was really close to actually winning this one, but with mistake here, it's really easy to notice. Landy first pick, that's what I always like to do. He Ross Ruel. I picked the Luna a little too early. Oh no, he first picked. So I picked these two. And I picked the Luna a little too early. And the thing about it is I ended up not picking another knight. So I had no mitigation and he just blew me up because of it. Right? So he just picked full aggro and he just ended up aggroing me back. Right? So that's the breakdown of the draft. My mistake was not actually picking more mitigation or a speed threat. Because I had 0 speed threats against him. Right? And then I just left myself open to way too many counters. He could have easily picked Sten as well and just killed me, right? So he had a lot of options to actually beat my draft. So that was a misdraft on my part. But okay, with that, let's actually go to y'all's drafts because I'm actually really interested. But before we start that, I do want to put Katie's in the background because I actually hate farming this hunt, but I need to do it because I really want to do a lot of stuff for videos. So let me put this in the background while we talk about y'all's fights because I'm really curious about y'all's draft. Y'all see me draft all the time. Y'all know I'm a tank abuser, that I'm a Bruiser tank abuser. All right, we'll set this up in the background and then we'll pull up the fights. All right, I'm just gonna make sure it's working because sometimes it lags at the starts of things. Okay, there we go. All right, now we're gonna move over to the match reviews. All right, so in case you want to send a draft over, you can send it over here in the match review in the Discord. You can join the Discord through the link in the description for this video. All right, let's get into it. I'm kind of curious. Let me get my water. That was a very long introduction to what we're doing today. As a healer, I would say Arabi user. I actually don't know too much about Katie's. I asked her on the Discord. This is a team that someone told me and they sent me the stats and I was like, I can do that. So I just copy pasted it. It has pretty much 100% win rate. So it's very reliable. It's just really slow. It takes forever. It takes like 5 to 7 minutes. But at least it gets it done, right? So energy is usually the cap, not the time. But okay, let's start with the first one by Lunar, who I wonder if he's still here. So man, first pick Francis. Oh wait, he got first pick. So he first picked Sten. I actually don't like Sten first pick anymore. I don't know about that. Rage Set Violet, that sounds crazy, Tab, but it also sounds pretty toxic. I'm not surprised people are doing that. Oh, I guess for that hunt, it wouldn't be too bad. It would be pretty good for that hunt. But for this draft, first pick Sten, I mean, usually that just means that you're going aggro, right? Because she's pretty squishy, although you can still pivot into a more Bruiser draft. She does have actual answers now, which is really good. But you do give up a lot of supports, and we see that AOL and Maid are not banned, especially with the Landy ban. That's huge, right? Getting a Maid Chloe with Landy ban, you essentially don't give that many counter picks to this, and then securing the FCC lets you actually secure repair to Tenebra later on. He does pick the AOL, which I think he honestly should have opened with AOL first pick because that changes what people will usually draft. Because if you pick her, people try to counter her, even though she's just going to end up getting banned at the end regardless, right? Almost no one lets her go through, right? Very few people are brave enough to actually let her go through. And usually when she gets to let her go through, it's because you have a really good draft against her. And they also misdrafted, right? AOL is a unit that, unless you misdraft, it's a force ban. But we do see the LQC. So he picked here, he picked these two, he picked A Robbie and this, and he answers with LQC and A Tywin, which is really good into all three of these units actually. Because he stops a lot, he can stun the Sten and slow her down, which takes up a lot of the damage. He can stun the A Robbie, slow her down as well so he doesn't take as many turns. And he also can take off the cleansing. So that's actually a really good A Tywin pick, and the LQC is to hard punish the A Robbie. And then he kind of stops committing to the cleave and aggro and goes for a DJ Bazaar and an Emo Haste, which is like, there's almost no damage in this team, right? It's so many supports. And the Rem pick, very interesting last pick too. I don't know about this Rem pick because there's nothing really, it's just like a Luxec type unit. This really does look like a Luxec type unit. If you're picking the Rem this late and there's no fire, right? And there's barely any AoE and they have a Spectre Tenebria, right? Granted, you do have access to last pick, so they can't answer to this. But it's like, it's a really weird unit to pick last. The only reason I think is if they were thinking of not banning the AOL, right? But it's kind of, you're forced to ban the AOL because with AOL on the board, half your team becomes useless, right? And it was a solo DPS Rem too, wow. I'm shocked that she actually pulled through. Wait, how did she pull through this match? Because he also didn't have a lot of damage. The Rem is usually not the best single target damage dealer, right? She's not and then he has to stun it and the Arabi to try to deal with it. And the Blood Moon Haste, right? You're not going to be taking a lot of turns with that. How did you win this match, Lunar? There's like, I'm looking at this, there's no, like, draft-wise, right side won, surprisingly. Just because he countered the A-Talon really hard and Lunar last picked the Rem. The only way is that he didn't focus down the Rem. That's the only thing I can think about. He somehow didn't focus the Rem down and lost. That's the only way I see this win, right? And it's not a gear gap because it's Legend versus Emperor, right? It's usually at this level, there's not that many gear gaps. Proof of battle, 9KP got one shot by the Rem. Oh man, that's sad. That's really sad. He got one shot through mitigation. That's really sad if you're getting one shot through that. He could have just blown that. Like, he could have done so much stuff to try to survive that. Granted, A-Talon and FCC do pretty good damage, but the Mei Chloe is not going to take a turn until like a while. Wow. I would not have expected a win on that side. That's a very surprising draft. I feel like you lost that draft, but you won in the match. All right, now we have K-Cap. Man, y'all are sending me some spicy ones from Legend. So we see Landy, FCC first pick, right? Very common because it threatens pivot drafting, threatens a lot of stuff, right? So that's a lot of different ways to actually win them. We see the Landy Cerise. I'm very curious about the Cerise pick this early. I don't see Cerise until here anymore. Unless it's like a cleaver that's cleaving old school, then they'll pick it up here. But this is a very early Cerise, right? And we do see that he goes the Bazaar route because Bazaar does have a really good matchup into these two units. And we see the Arabi, this is a very solid unit, although not the greatest into Cerise, just because he can restrict the Arabi, and then the Arabi loses a lot of advantage as well as controlling. So not the greatest pick here, because it's a guy. If it's a guiding like a Landy, you're not reaching with Arabi. And Cerise is also a good matchup. Picks the Stena to punish the Arabi, which is a really good option. Picks the Ross to combo with Landy or Stena for the DPS. And then finishes it off with the support. Really strong draft on this side. And then the Belian and the RB to punish the Stena. Wow, both solid drafts. I feel like he lost because the A-Robbie didn't make sense in this situation. A-Robbie into Cerise Landy is not the best, right? Especially, he did take this away, which means that he did eat a Bazaar, right? But at that point, you already got S3'd, you already got slowed down. I imagine this Belian never countered or got stunned and controlled, right? Because you're not reaching the Stena until very late in the game, which means that Ross and Cerise are pulling the Stena, and Stena just out DPSs, right? Assuming the Belian never counterattacks, you're just out DPSing here. Yeah, if you dual attack with Ross and Cerise every single turn, Landy's basically dead, right? Because once Bazaar goes, A-Robbie, I imagine, blows her up. Same with Belian. But then afterwards, there's no reach for Stena besides Belian, right? And there's no sustain. So I imagine he had to S2 the Belian quite a lot this game to try to control her. And she must have never procced the counterattack. Or enough counterattacks to break through the Stena. So I can show I could show her. I can't show her right now, Min, because I'm currently farming Katie's. I really should have just a depository with like all the pictures of all my units. Because it'd be really easy for me to show all of them. But I sadly can't show it right now because it's running Katie's, and this takes so long that I don't want to have to, like, I'll show it later on once we finish reviewing some of these. Oops, that's the wrong tab. That's for work. But alright, this is the part. Okay, so this draft, yeah, it makes sense what you want. He has no reach for Stena, right? I honestly would have banned the Stena and just eaten the Landy. Although that means that you have to, because once you kill Landy, you win the game, right? But with Stena, it's like, do you have the reach to actually kill the Stena? And it looks like the answer was no. Let me see for this one. First pick, or not first pick. First pick falls to see that. Very standard, right? This is all, you're gonna see this a lot because it threatens so much stuff that you can't stop once she's on the board. But for here, we have General Purrgis Landy. I have not seen a General Purrgis be picked this early in a very long time either. Which is very interesting, right? And we do see the punish with Cerise, which is a really good option here. And the Stena, I imagine, is to take away the pick, right? Just because General Purrgis Stena is really strong. So Cerise reveals Landy, and she also applies Restrict to the G-Perk. But you can actually mitigate this by picking an immunity setter, which he did, right? He picked the immunity setter here, which was the last shot of Crawl, and then Mercedes to deal with the Spectre Tenebria. So that part's good, right? So far, so good. He picks a Carrot, because there's actually no answers to Carrot on this board, right? Landy loses to Carrot. Mercedes does okay into Carrot. Last Shot of Crawl does okay into Carrot. General Purrgis does okay into Carrot. But there's no real answers into Carrot. And he picks the Charlotte. So double fire to punish the Landy. And then last pick Kisa to punish the fire. Of course he has to ban this Kisa, right? I'm trying to look from this side. I just don't think with Cerise there, if she lands everything, you're slowed down so much and then the carrot can set up, right? And I don't think you beat the carrot. I honestly think, I don't know, almost banning, it's kind of a hard match actually. I imagine he just didn't have the DPS, right? Because he has no strips, right? He's relying on Landy to get the kill, but Landy's not going to be moving that fast. And he has the Fallen Cecilia to stop a lot of the AoE. And if she triggers too early, he doesn't get magic for friends, right? So I imagine he did kill Stenet, but then I imagine he lost to the carrot. That's my guess, right? If I had to take a guess, he lost to the carrot, right? Because at that point, once he gets rid of a lot of your immunity, there's not a lot you can do. Or he didn't out DPS enough to kill the Stenet, right? It's one of the two. He either wasn't enough with that initial burst of these. I just find it hard to believe that these three can't just one-shot the Stenet, though. I imagine the Stenet would have died. The last Red Crawl gets rid of the Nullifier. Landy might have gotten outsped. Maybe the Cerise landed everything. That's the other option, too. But most likely lost to Carrot. You have no answers for him in this draft, unfortunately. So the carrot actually mostly got you, right? Or the Stennis survived, killed the Landy, and then there's not enough damage to kill the carrot, and the carrot just wins. How to counter Belian if the opponent picks her? Aggro to counter Belian. The big thing with Belian would actually be to I know this sounds really bad, but right now a really common thing is kind of luck sacking, which I hate to say that, but it's so common to just pick Violet and Rem and just pray for duels because she AoE so much. But the other thing is, like, you can also really punish her with Last Rider Crawl and Rowana, right? As mentioned, Rowana is usually a force ban because if they're on Elris, it's really rough, right? It's not a hard counter by Rem, but it's like a lot of people will pick it and it's kind of annoying to deal with. But yeah, the most reliable I would say is LRK and Rowana. Those two have a really good matchup. LRK because you just ramp up super fast, and it just becomes, does Belian strip every turn, right? If she doesn't strip every turn, and does she outdamage you? Because there are some cases where you can actually win with LRK, but the Rowan is almost always a force ban. I will say that for Belian, you should not be picking anywhere until it's like close to last pick, unless you're very confident in your draft, right? So you typically want to pick units that punish forced AoEs because they'll give you more advantage or they'll counterattack. That's usually how you deal with her. Or you give some things to punish the counterattacks, which would be Rowana and LRK. That's the most common thing. So usually when I pick her here and the opponent has no way to respond. Except picking Rowana, right? So Rowana is arguably her hardest counter because she doesn't apply on healable. And she can trigger a lot of multiple attacks. So Rowana would be the best counter. Violet, A, Ravi, and Rem do okay into her. And then LRK does pretty good into her. First pick Belian's very brave. If you're first picking Belian, that's very brave. I've tried it. Oh, man. It sucks, dude. I just feel like I get, like, every single counter in the game gets picked against me. I also lose priority over, like, units like Landy, which sucks. Because I actually don't know how to fight a good Landy team. Because I don't have made to punish or to take away the pick. So if I don't take Landy, then I just get Landy made, and there's no way I can do anything against Landy made Carmen. It's just so toxic. Belian against AOL is also pretty brave. AOL does decent into Belian because you can actually cleanse a lot of the stuff that she can put out as well as getting skill nulls. So she does good, but not when Maid is on the board tap. When Maid and Landy are on the board, Landy just out DPSs you. That's the only problem. Yeah. First pick Belian gets super hard punished. It feels so bad, but if you have a really confident draft, it's not bad. But alright, let's look at this one. This one's Millie. We're getting one from a little bit lower down. We do see the first pick was from Millie's side. She first picked Crow. The only times I see people first pick Crow is if they have like one of the most insane Crows on this planet. Because right now, most people prefer picking Fallen Cecilia, Maid, or AOL just because they have higher priority, or something like Landy, right? And those are more easy to pivot around. Craw, the only time I see a Craw first pick is if you're going for like a very bulky team and you really want to abuse Charlotte, right? And you have a really good Craw. That's the only times I'll ever see him get first pick. But we do see the counter AOL, Landy, AOL being broken, right? Standard. RB, which I think is a Degen RB in Charlotte. Charlotte punishes the Landy. But both these units don't do too great into AOL, so it's kind of already telling the opponent, hey, I'm banning your AOL, right? So that means that he'll get to pick anything else. He picked the F10A and the LQC. That's two control units, but he does have the LQC and the Landy to carry the damage. And then we see the Violet to counter the F10A and also potentially the AOL. And the DJ Basark to counter all the control. Oh, there's where it is. Yep. I have no idea why this game, why this guy banned the Charlotte in this situation. The F10A was already kind of a dead pick though here, because these two units kind of hit F10A pretty hard. But the Doris was a little odd too. You have no you have mitigation from LQC, but you're still gonna get blown up. Right? There's no revives. Because if this is high enough AFRES, your F10 is a dead pick, right? And then you lose turn 1 priority. I would honestly have banned this and taken my chances against Violet and Charlotte. Because you're basically guaranteed one of these, right? You're guaranteed a debuff on the right side. So banning the Charlotte loses really hard to unable to be buffed, right? She loses really hard in that situation. Also, the Landy with AOL and F10 is kind of counterintuitive because the Landy is not going to get any stacks, right? But I would still have banned the DJB because if he resists, you're screwed. You just lose the game, essentially. Versus with that, if he banned this, he has 3s. They're stun locked, right? He gets the speed buff from Landy. He can one-shot anything right here with this. Right, you already have the Doris to sustain against the RB, so the RB is not a concern. And you have the sustain against the Violet. You can literally just slowly pick this team apart. Just like kill the Crow as fast as possible and just win the game off of that. But 2 unbuffables is a little more, it's a little bit much, right? Especially with Landy. It's a little weird. This is kind of a draft gap. And this was a really good punish to the F10A and the control draft, right? So really good picks for these last two, but really poor here picking these 3 units together. They don't have any synergy together. Like AOL, F10, and Landy actually are anti-synergistic because they're taking away buffs that Landy is never going to be able to ramp up and actually S3, which means you lose the big speed advantage, you lose a lot of damage. Landy doesn't become as big of a DPS threat. And then the Doors is just kind of like, you're committed to like a really aggro team. You might as well just finish it off with like something to punish the Arbiter Vildred, right? There's a lot of things that you could actually have done, right? To actually punish this draft better. Doors was not one of them. Doris was not one of them. Kisam, if you want to, join the Discord and drop it down in one of the bottom ones. But yeah, Amelia would be really good in this situation too. Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little weird to ban the Charlotte in this situation. Charlotte loses really hard to unbuffables, right? So let's keep it going. So this one, should they have picked something else instead of Fairy Tale Tenebria? I actually think early pick Fairy Tale Tenebria, you're gonna get punished for a lot, right? It's not that it's a bad pick, because Fairy Tail with FCC is really good, but it's good because it threatens the opponent later on. But if you pick it this early, you don't threaten the draft at all, right? Because they have time to respond to it. The other thing is that you also have no DPSs here, right? And they first picked Fallen Cecilia. They responded with Crawl Maid, which is a really solid one, although I personally prefer Landy Maid, but it still gives you support in bulk. This already kind of telegraphs the opponent, hey, I'm going Bruiser. It's kind of hard to pivot from this to an aggro draft. But then Fairy Tail and Amelia, that's 2 support units, and you still have a Knight. This is a no damage so far. There is 0 damage on this part of the draft, right? Which is why I personally don't like Amelia, Fallen Cecilia, and F10. Right? It just always feels kind of weird because there's no damage, right? So there's no damage on your side. He picks MC, which is a little bit early to pick MC because you can still pick LQC, right? I wouldn't pick MC this early because it's very easy to just grab LQC and just win the game. And he picks the Landy, which again, he probably should have taken the Landy earlier rather than the Fairy Tail. He should have done Amelia Landy, right? Because that's a really solid... It answers the Maid, it answers the Crow, it gives her support, and it doesn't reveal your F10A pick, right? So that's the big thing right here, right? That's the huge thing right here why I would have picked Landy over F10A this early. Yeah, I would not do this one because you're locking yourself into no DPS draft if you do this. But then he gets the Landy. So now you have to wait to deal with Landy. And you go closer to Charles Tennant, which are your last damage dealers, and then Rem. This draft will not have enough damage to break through a Crawl Maid combo. Ever. And then the Champ C as well. So he lost by picking 3 units that are all supports, basically. And then solo DPSing is really hard, right? The only way I could have potentially seen safe draft is if he had a Landy earlier, right? Because that takes away the Landy pick and is really good into his current draft, and then grab the Stena instead of Closer Charles. You already have an attack buff too. So Closer Charles also doesn't make too much sense here because you're grabbing double attack buff and you still don't have a big solo carry DPS, right? So you're susceptible to just getting tanked out. That's what I would do. I would honestly change this pick for a Landy and save the Fairy Tail pick for something like down here. So that would be my guess. That's what I would most likely end up doing for this draft. But that's just a mistrap. And you learn from doing stuff like this that you need DPSs. You can't solo DPS a Bruiser draft a lot of the times. Alright, then we have full control. Oh man, I actually really like this type of cleave. So it's Cerise and Holo Sage Wolf. FCC is a good option, right? The Fairy Tail, a little weird. I can imagine because he saw a Champ C ban, he didn't want to get controlled. But the thing about it, it's like you have to be really confident in your Fairy Tail Tenebra to pick her this early, right? And we see the Bomb Witch Iceria, which again just combos really nicely with Cerise. And the RB. At this point, you know you're getting cleaved. So he does go anti-cleave with Blood Moon Haste and with the Rem, which is not a bad option, actually. Because there's a lot of AoE on this draft. There's a lot of chances for him to AoE. And then he comes here and picks Emo Leo and Emo Aura. So actually full control. The second you lose your buffs, you're out, right? Man, and if this Emo Leo is faster than your Fairy Tail, you're kind of screwed. The weird thing is that he banned the Arbiter Vildred. That's the one part doesn't make sense to me. But right now, the Police was a good last pick. Honestly, the draft wasn't bad on the right side. He did try a lot. It's really hard to like go into a team like this, and the Rem will do a lot of work in this draft. The only thing, it's like you already have a lot of answers for Arbiter Vildred, or like this person did, and they still banned it. That's the only thing I can think about. He already had answers to Arbiter Vildred. I guess he just was scared that he wouldn't have enough damage or that he banned Emo Haze. But if you ban Emo Haze, then you just blow him up. I think the big threat was going to be the Bomb Iceria, because she's going to give the CR push, right? She's the unit that's going to give the CR push. She's the unit that's actually going to be stunning you. And that's the best way to go about it. Champ C would also probably just gotten banned, right? Because it was first pick, responds. Yeah, he had time to put a Champ C earlier on. I mean, it wasn't a bad draft, it was a bad ban. That's the only thing I can think about. But F10 this early is not bad. It's not good. This is a way too early F10. Like, you already have the Fallen Cecilia secured. Just pick Violet instead of going for Fairy Tail if you're worried about the control aspect. Because they already have one control unit, right? If they go Cerise F10, then you just counter them because they have too much control and not enough damage, right? So Fairy Tail, not the best option there. So that probably is what lost him the draft, as well as the ban. 55%. Oh, RB does counter full control. That is true. So you grabbing RB makes sense, KK. Oh, what didn't make sense to me is the RB ban, right? That's the one in the F10 grab for that draft. But this one, the quote was 55%. Let's see if he actually won a draft. Wow, he actually let Pavel through. That's crazy. That's crazy. This draft, just looking at draft, the left side should have won. Left side should have absolutely won. The only thing I can think about is he never hit the Violet. Because Amelia or Rem is gone, right? S2, S3, someone's gone, right? So let's say Rem is gone, right? Landy's attack buffed. He has no reach with Amelia, right? The Landy's probably on light. Big S3, right? The Amelia can't do anything. She just sits there. You S3, you hit everyone. Big Landy S3, you blow things up, and you fall on Cecilia S3. It was a little bit early Polides, although Polides is usually picked here. Polides is almost always picked here as a response to Amelia. It's very common to actually see her here. I'm not surprised he picked her here. The Polides is not the problem. The problem is like he'd have to find. But that's rough. That's really rough. He had 2 counters to Violet. 2 huge counters to Violet too. That's so sad. That means that Violet just always dodged. If Violet dodges every single time, he will kill the rest of this team. Because, like, let's say Light didn't proc, which is very possible. Landy didn't guiding Light, so Croc kills Landy, right? Fine, whatever. You still have Polides and you still have Pavel, who should survive, right? Amelia will die pretty soon after. And then, yeah, the Violet could potentially solo this. If you don't have the DPS to kill the Amelia, the Amelia can actually cycle you out. But the Violet just carry the fight. If you can't kill the Violet, you just lose, right? So it's one of those things that it just happens. But I imagine Guiding Light didn't proc, and that's why he lost. Because without Light, you can actually horse the Landy, and if you lose Landy, you lose a lot of damage. So, but it is hard to cycle the Amelia. That is true. Yeah, it's just Violet. That's just Violet diff. I mean, that happens a lot more than you think. And this is something that, like, quick sidetrack for RTA, but I actually hate how both these units are so high rolly. Like, when they're in the game, no matter how good you did in drafting phase, you always have a chance to lose. And that's just really sad. Right? It shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't lose draft this hard, because he lost draft really hard here. Right? He picked the wrong band. He did everything wrong. But he still wins because he has a unit that just is a luck. It's a luck unit. And people usually do Tome on Amelia a lot of times. Some people also do Guardian Crystals for healing. But it's just very annoying that this is this big, right? Because both Violet and Rem are actually surprisingly really popular, right? And the thing about it is they can turn a draft around, because if you just high roll that draft, it does not matter how good you drafted. As you can see right here, he should not have lost this one, right? He should not have lost this one, but he did because the Violet high rolled, right? If you get countered enough times, you're gonna lose the fight. If you can't kill him, he's gonna kill you, right? And it's just very frustrating, right? Same thing with Rem. Same idea. If she doesn't counter, he doesn't do anything. But it's just very frustrating. Like, this is probably my biggest gripe with RTA right now, is that you can legit just slap on luck units and win the game through luck, right? Which it shouldn't be that way, right? If you get out drafted, you should probably lose the fight. It shouldn't be as consistent as Violet Rem is. And I actually did try Violet Rem just to see how it would be. And it actually won me way too many fights. Like, it was not okay how many fights I was winning by just picking these two units. Like, there are so many times I tried Rem Violet and they would pick Stan and Landy. They would pick a perfect draft against me. I would high roll and I would just win. And I was like, okay, why don't I just play with RNG? I'm bidding players that have better gear than me just because I'm luck sacking them, right? And you can go extend that discussion to, like, counter set. There's a lot of luck involved right now in Epic 7 PvP, for better or for worse. As whether or not luck is good, more luck is good or bad, that's up for debate. But it just feels bad. It just feels bad. To lose to this, it just feels really bad. Because a lot of times, they're not in the right situation. Now, if you drafted Violet into a Rem, or into like a full water team, then yes, by all means, he should be countering every single time. So, I don't know, it's just frustrating. There's also a lot of counter units. There's a lot of situations where it's like, one counter wins the fight, or one dual attack wins the fight. And it should never... Well, dual attack has always been around. Same with our counter attacks, but Violet Rem just adds so much RNG to the table. That's true. At least counter set doesn't automatically give you a CR push, stacks on your passive to do a S3, and you still are not dodging. You're still getting hit by the units. Man, that's frustrating to watch. This is a sad match to watch. It's a really good draft, by the way. This is a pivot draft. In case you are wondering, this is how pivot draft looks like. Very good pivot, by the way. But okay, let's see this one. Cleave versus Anti-cleave. Wow. So this is a tech that he actually told me how it works. I actually fought against... This is Hours, by the way, on the left. Every time I fight Hours, his cleave is just disgusting. Fun fact, this Akali is a bait. This Akali, I've actually seen it. It's 310. So he baited the A Sid and out gear gap. Right? I know Cleave gear gaps a lot, but it's a very small gear gap because no one expects Akali to be 310 speed. So he banned the speed imprint instead because he's worried about the flan, right? But little does he know that the Akali is the opener that's there to one-shot something on the board, right? If you knew that, you would actually ban the Polides so Akali can't kill. So, it's a really cool tech. I really, really like it. So that's just a gear gap. The guy on the right did nothing wrong. He actually did a lot right. But it's not a lot you can do against just getting gear gap, which is why cleave is always going to be around. As long as you have strong gear, you're going to be winning fights. And yes, Hydro, there's a lot of times that my Violet has soloed a Charlotte, and it's not okay. With Symbol. Freitas, I don't blame you. Fighting Violet is so annoying. Like, the thing about it is I've beat so many Charlottes with Violet that it's just not okay. It's not ethical. It's not ethical to go Rem Violet. Politis Anti-cleave strat. So Retro got first pick. First pick Landy. This unit's the best first pick in the game. If you have this unit and you're not banning her, you're picking her, right? And we see the Rem ban and the FCC ban. So this is a really good first pick because if they try to cleave you, which they most likely will because they ban Fallen Cecilia, you have one of the best anti-cleave units in the game. And we see the Politis RB a little bit early on the Politis. But we also do see the Belian and then the Rowana to take away the pick. A little bit weird though. Because usually cleave doesn't do dual attacking, right? So Rowana's not really going to do a lot besides just be bulky and take away the counter pick. And we see the Pavel Flan for the response. Pavel already has a soul, the Flan to push someone up. And we see Senya A Tatwin. A Tatwin probably on an artifact. Senya to stop the RB. And then the Cdom. And he bans the Cdom, not the Pavel. Because he... Let me think. Pavel S2s. Belian S2s. It hits. Honestly, I don't know what Pavel kills here. I guess he can kill the AOL after that. He kills AOL. And then he's left with these 3 units. But he has no souls. So he has to either push up RB. He probably just ran out of steam. That's honestly just what happened. He honestly just probably ran out of steam. Just didn't have the damage to kill the Senya. Looking at it, I actually would have thought the right side won though. Like just thinking about it, because the banning her over banning something like the Pavel is interesting to me. But and they're not both on anti-Night artifact. The only thing I can imagine is they're too bulky and he just didn't have the damage to push through, right? Which is very possible. Right, because the Rowana S3s, a Taiwan S3s, and then the Senya, if she survives, you're kind of screwed, right? Because you have to hope that you land a stun with Belian, and if you don't, or not Belian, with Politis, and assume that you don't get stunned, right? So I imagine that the only problem he ran into here was the damage. He ran out of damage. So right side ran out of steam. That's the big thing that I see from that one. Yeah, oh, when Rem doesn't counterattack, that's the worst feeling in the world. Rem does have a lot of counters, but yeah. He did something wrong by owning AOL. You're not wrong. I wish I owned Light Angel counter. Light Angel cannot counter flank cleave. She can to an extent, Sanyam, depending on what the flank cleave is. It's just a really good answer to a lot of cleaves, though. But I imagine this team was just too bulky, and he ran out of steam. But yeah, AOL right now is usually the one of the best first picks in the game, just because she's so versatile. But right, next up is Taff. Belian first pick. Oh man, picking that early is really weird because you're prone to getting hard countered. Right, and we do see that A Robbie LQC takes away the counter for A Robbie. Right now, Mate is open, Landy's open, Sten is open. There's a lot of stuff that's open, and neither side has grabbed it. And neither side grabbed it. He picked Doris over someone like Mate. I imagine he doesn't have Mate, right? There's no other way you pick Doris over Mate. And more, so he's trying to have fun. Yeah, I can already tell this guy's trying to have fun, so I'm not gonna roast him too hard. Because already when I see this, I'm always like, oh yeah, this dude's gonna try to have fun. Dora's, this is kind of gross. We see that Tab got the Maid and the Last Order Crawl. Last Order Crawl punishes this, and we'll ramp up the game. The Maid for the revive, and then the Amelia for the cycling. And it was a solo A Robbie game, but the thing about it is with this unit has so much injury. and she's so well supported by Amelia that it's gonna ramp up to be too much, right? He does not have enough damage to deal with it, and the Belian's gonna just suicide into the last Rider Crawl. Last Rider Crawl is gonna be S3ing almost every single turn, right? You just work on the Mort first, you kill the Mort, and then you work on the Robbie next, and then on this, and then that, right? You don't have the damage to deal with this team. Team's way too bulky. You're not gonna kill this team unless you have like actual damage stealers, and the Belian got really hard punished. Really good hard punish, because you're not even landing the slows and the glancing hits because there's Maid and there's Amelia, right? And you don't have a big DPS to actually deal with the sustain. You just legit lose in Frenzy. So yeah, it's a little weird that he banned the stand and first pick Belian. That too. Oh, stand it wasn't open. Yeah, that's a little weird. First pick Belian does not work. I might have wanted to check it. It just does not work. It's better to have AOL and don't care to build a queue for build AOL ASAP. ASAP. I would build AOL. If I had AOL, I would build a unit so fast so I can stop pre-banning her and I can actually get to play her because she's so broken. And not everyone bans her. If I had first pick, I would pick her every single time for first pick. She enables so much good stuff. I can also run the ATAL and AOL teams, which are just super dirty. So that's the big reason why I really want it. But I am curious to see what they're gonna do about Violet, Rem, and Maid, because those are the big ones right now. But yeah, Belian early pick. I imagine he was just testing. I imagine this was the first week. It's still the first week for Belian, so she's still in like the testing period. So it's not surprising. So I'm not gonna roast him too much. It's just he probably learned Belian never first pick. Climbing with this exact same team. Oh yeah, I actually have to go against this team. This is a very home cooked cleave. But if people have forgotten how to deal around Bazaar. Like a lot of people forgot how to deal with Bazaar. So a lot of people will pick against Bazaar, including myself, right? Because no one really picks Bazaar anymore, so no one really knows what to do against them. But the first pick made here gets punished by the Polides. And he's still trying to speed contest, but then he gives up on the speed contest halfway. And he picks... Let's see, he picked this. Oh, the Polides also punishes this pick really hard. Yeah, this guy just, I don't think, has the proper anti-cleave. I'm not going to say too much outside of that. But I imagine he didn't have the proper anti-cleave. The Ace Sid, this is way too early for Ace Sid. You want to bulk up the second you see stuff like this. The Ace Sid, yeah, that's fine, but you want to force it later. You don't want people to put speed imprints, right? That's the only mistake I would say. Picking Ace Sid this early. If they start picking speed imprints, your Ace Sid is useless, right? If a cleaver sees you pick Ace Sid this early, it means you're going to go a little bit squishier. You're not going to go Sage Ball or something like that. They can just put a bunch of speed imprints and just win. Oh yeah, AOL is Angel, Aladdin, Angelica. Sorry, I didn't know if someone mentioned that. Maid is relative. Maid, right now, if you had to ask me what the top 3 units, what most people will tell you the top 3 units in the game are right now for RTA, they're going to say Maid, Chloe, Angel, Aladdin, Angelica, and probably Landy. Those 3. With a lot of units up, and Amelia really close up there with Landy. But AOL and Maid are arguably the 2 best units in RTA right now. Just because they enable too much stuff. Like, it's just what it is. Like, those are like the best units. So that's why when you hear me say, oh, they didn't pick AOL, they didn't pick this. Like right here, AOL was open. I imagine neither player has AOL because you would see her get picked, right? And that's the one saving grace about AOL is that not everyone has her. But yeah, FCC is definitely up there as well. Like, there's a lot of really good units, but undeniably, most people will tell you Maid and AOL are the most unethical units right now. And then there's Violet, who's just like a luck-sec unit, which is why people don't like him. Because you can win games with luck if you pick them. But Maid and AOL are just so good. Maid does have counters, but it's just like, even with her counters, oh man, you're not gonna make me go on a rant about Maid, Chloe. The big thing with Maid, on the, like, if you look at her kit, you look at the S3, it looks okay, right? It says cleanse, attack buff, revive, right? Nothing insane, right? Nothing super out of this planet broken, right? A lot of units have cleanses, a lot of units have attack buffs. She's the only one that has revive buff, which is really nice. But it is what it is, right? It's cool. That's fine. Then you look at her S2. She's healing like more than like Ruel heals. Right? Her healing is really freaking good. So, okay, she has really good sustain and really good buffs. Okay, that's fine. That's great. right? We need more supports, right? That's whatever. But then we get to her freaking S1, and that's where I start having problems. There is no reason a support that's already healing and buffing has the opportunity to just steal a match with a stun. That just should not happen. You should not be able to win a game from your support that's already pulling all the legwork because you luck sack a stun on the opponent's DPS and you just win the game off of that. And there are so many people that fish for mid stuns, and games literally come down to, if mid stuns here, I lose. If mid does not stun here, I win, right? And then on top of that, they add SCR push when she hits a stun target. It's like, the S1 is the part that really pushes mid over the edge. Without the S1, mid is like, okay, she's really strong, but I would not hate her as much as I do. She would just be she would be on the same level as Amelia. If Maid didn't have the stun, she would be like Amelia. She would be on the same level, where she's really good in the right situation, has very clear weaknesses that can be abused. Nice and easy. But yes, more games are won this RTA season by getting lucky than they are by actually drafting or playing someone. Yes, Kandor, I hate to admit it, but yes. If I showed you guys my gear, and then I showed you guys a legend level player's gear, I should never be winning, theoretically. But there's so much RNG that I can just out RNG a lot of the times. There's so many games that just win because my Landy countered. Outplayed, I guess. If my Landy counters, I just get to win. It kind of sucks, but it's just how RTA is becoming. But you can still do a lot of drafting, right? And this drafting, you don't want to pick a set this early. That's the one tip I'll give you. But that's my main rant. I don't want to talk more about Maid because she really does trigger me. Her S1 is the one thing that actually makes me mad, right? Because it nullifies her counters, right? Oh, you have a losing matchup against Landy? Just stun her. It's counters more common, but Chloe technically is 40% stun, right? But I swear she lands at almost 100% when she needs to. But yeah, that's the problem with this trap. A-Set was too early, and I imagine he just didn't have the units to deal with the cleave. So I'm not going to harp on him too much. He just looks like a unit problem. Let's see this one. End thought. First pick, Belian. Very brave. Let's see if this person punishes the first pick, though. Bonus your Landy. Not the worst thing in the world. Gives you more time, right, to think about stuff. You do lose access to like an attack buffer, but you do secure a potential Fairy Tale Tenebria with Fallen Cecilia. You get the Landy, who's one of the best DPSs. Amelia Charlotte, right? So now we have 2 full AoE units. So the Rem is like a no-brainer. Same with the last Crawl. These 2 picks were really good in response. The Violet, really good response to this. And then the Crimson Armin to stop the damage and just make your team super bulky. The part he messed up was with the A Tywin. Why did he last pick A Tywin? That's so odd. Because at this point, he has Cleansing, he has Violet, and he has Immunity. A Tywin's useless in this situation. Like, this last pick was absolutely useless. Everything up to this point was like, okay. Like, I'm not a big fan of Fallen Cecilia Landy anymore. I would have preferred this to be Amelia or Maid. But again, not everyone has Maid, not everyone has Amelia, right? So it's fine. Like, everything up to this point was okay. He lost draft when he picked a Tywin. Because now like with this team, he's not punishing Belian Charlotte at all. If this is an SSB, oh yeah, now you're talking. Just ban the Violet and you win, right? You have last pick, right? They're forced to AoE. That is 2 forced AoE units. There is so much stuff they can do. And the other thing is that a Tywin gets destroyed by Belian. Like, this is actually a dead pick. This is the deadest pick he could have picked. Like, he has so many ways to deal with a Tywin. It's actually like, I would expect this draft as a counter to a Tywin. So this is such a dead pick, right? An SSB would have been much better. Another DPS that can actually deal with Charlotte would be much better, because once you kill Charlotte, you win the game, essentially. SSB would have pretty much won. Yeah, no, this whole draft counters a Tywin, and he has last pick. Little Arabian has last pick, and he picked a Tywin as his last pick option into a team that fully counters him, except Charlotte. That's the law. That's the throw. Up to this point, the draft was fine. The draft actually was in his favor because he overcommitted to AoE, but he just didn't punish it enough. Wait, he is? Mirror, wait, actually, is he really? Wait, tell him not to. What was he thinking in this draft? Did he time out? He probably doesn't remember that fight. But yeah, you're not winning this fight. You're just getting out DPS like easily. That's pretty funny. Yeah, it's out here is a throw. So yeah, there's so many options that he could have picked here. Sustain with Maid Chloe, so that way his Landy is live and he gets some sustain. He can Lux have some stuns. He could have picked SSB to punish the force AoE. He could have picked even a Ravi, dude. Even a Ravi would have won him the game right there. Even regular Ravi wins him the game right here. Any unit that can punish double AoE just wins him the game right there. Easily. Did he think this fight? I don't think he did. So, it is what it is. Nothing terrible. Could have done more though. But this is what lost him the game. He lost draft right here because he just got a dead pick unit and his team got no punishes. Oh yeah, even Rylet. Yeah, Rylet just wins this too. So, but yeah, that's where he killed himself in draft right here because he did not punish this. This is so punishable. If someone does this to you, oh man, you gotta put so much anti-AoE that they want to just cry in a corner because you're countering every single turn or you're punishing them every single turn. So, very, very interesting draft. The Rowana ban kind of telegraphs that SSB is fine too. So, but a really solid ban though. Not a bad option. So, overall, didn't get punished and won because of it. Very nicely, right? And Crimson Armament plus support is just absolutely bonkers. So he did everything right, except I don't like Belian first pick because it's hard punishable. This guy did everything wrong. He didn't punish his opponent at all. It didn't even become a game. That's just a clean win. Oh man. Oh man. Alright, so we see Clara. Okay, Clara has a Landy. That's cool to see. First picks are 2, which is really smart. Kra Rem. I'm not a fan because this is 2 water units. And Violet is open, right? So Violet is actually open at this point. And you have a control type unit that doesn't really care about Rem too much. Picks Charlotte Violet. Violet is a good option. Charlotte is a little weird because he has double water and you're picking Charlotte. What the? That's pretty funny. Charlotte into double water. Both these units counter Charlotte really hard. The only thing I can think about is he wanted to stop the Violet counters, right? That's the one thing I can think about. Because he will not have another way to deal with. Although Landy does pretty decent into Charlotte, right? So kind of odd, but we'll go with it. Arbiter Vildren. It is a relatively squishy team. And Maid Chloe, pretty solid option, right? You get to, if you get souls, you can soul burn out of Landy, and you get to sustain against the rest of the units. And then we see Crimson Norman, Fairy to Tenebria, and a last pick Seaside that makes no sense. Whoops, we went out of the place. Wait, this is the wrong one. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's up here. I think I lost it. Wait, I lost it. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, the Seaside pick makes no sense. You're not punishing anything on this draft with Seaside. You're still getting controlled. Right? Yeah, you're punishing Charlotte more. But at this point, if you can't move, Charlotte with Symbol of Unity will actually do a lot of damage. Especially Fairy Tail Tenebria lands a freaking decreased defense. And the Crimson Armament is there threatening your whole draft. So Seaside's a little... I get you wanted to double punish the Charlotte. But then that also means you're forced to bend the Violet. Which means he gets to keep all his control units. This guy probably never got to move. But... the thing about it is Charlotte with Symbol of Unity wins into full water teams. So... fun little fact about Charlotte. That was not a good Charlotte pick. But the thing about Charlotte is she's broken enough that it doesn't matter. Right? That's the thing. And the thing about it is this current team has no way to feed Charlotte attack buffs. But the Seaside gave the Charlotte a way to actually get attack buffs. Oh, my head doesn't let me see last 2 picks. That's my bad. Let me zoom out. Can y'all see it now? Yeah, y'all can see it now. But yeah, this is kind of... Thank you for letting me know, Tef. You know, speed control setup. Yeah, Charlotte probably hit a lot of crits. But yeah, I'm not a fan of this Seaside last pick. But alright, 30 turn Bruiser, Cleave, never dead. Oh my god. Okay, so Fonz, let me see. Crimson Armin first pick. Very aggressive, but the thing about Crimson Armin without mate is not nearly as scary, right? Or Amelia. He did get the Amelia later on, but it was really low on the priority list. I have CC Violet. I see Violet way too much early, and the thing about it, he has no realistic counters aside from trying to kill him, right? Landy was banned though, so mate was open. Oh, mate was banned on the left side. Okay, I get it now. Mate was banned on the left side, Landy was banned on the right side, so Crimson Armin, okay, he's gonna get Amelia. He should have secured Amelia earlier. It's a little weird he took this long to secure the Amelia. Like, he took until last week to actually secure his Amelia. But, very brave first pick. I don't know about Crimson Armin first pick. There's a lot of units that can actually punish that. Like, you can just control this really easily. But Charlotte Stene, really good answer to a Violet. The Belian and El Craw takes away the counter pick, right? By picking Last Rider Craw. Punishes the Stene really hard. And then the A Robbie's a really good answer here to these two. And then the Amelia, not a bad unit. Not a bad draft on either side. There's actually nothing I would change about this one. They both drafted really well. Except with the Crimson Armin first pick, which is a little weird. They both drafted really well. And the Violet picked this early, but honestly, he did get punished properly. But he had the proper response as well. I would have actually thought right side wins this, looking at draft. Because this side has no sustain. And the A Ravi will slowly eat away at the Belian and the Last Rider Crawl. And you kind of just work your way around the team, right? The Violet's not going to kill anything until very late in the game. So the only way you win this is by Violet luck sacking. Yeah. So this was a game that Violet literally probably won. Or the Belian popped off with counterattacks, right? Like, if the Belian counterattacked every time Crimson Armin went, every single time that Amelia didn't attack, and every single A Robbie didn't attack, that's too much damage to keep up with. But yeah, this draft should not have lost. Looking at it. The only way it loses is if this is not a lifesteal Stene, and the Belian procced way too many counters and killed the Stene off of the counters, right? So the only way left side wins is by triggering counterattacks and Violet carrying. That's legit the only way left side wins. If Belian procs no counters, you don't have the reach for Stene. You slowly get cycled out, and then the Stene just ends the game. So pretty crazy, actually. I would say this is definitely a Violet luck sack / Belian counter luck sack. Left side should not have won, theoretically. Looking at draft, they didn't do anything wrong aside from picking units that get hard punished early. Right side did everything really well aside from the first with Crimson Armin, which is a little weird, but again, people play different, and maybe he really likes Crimson Armin on his strategy, right? So this is just a Violet diff. Violet counter diff, which is a lot of games do tend to come down to that. So nothing crazy. Oh, Mary, let me see what you got going for us. First pick Landy. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of first pick Landy. Today's video actually talks about why I'm such a big fan of first pick Landy. The biggest reason why I love first pick Landy is if you don't have a maid Chloe in your roster, you don't have to worry about her because you're guaranteed a unit to try to counter maid Chloe a little bit, right? So I always love Landy first pick. Always my favorite. He goes made a CC, very bulky start instead of going for another DPS. You're losing access to a DPS here, right? So you're opting to be more tanky. We do see that Amelia Landy very standard, and a Crawl too. Wow, your draft looks so similar to mine. This is actually the exact same strategy I use. Just because it's Crawl covers the Charlotte matchup. Amelia also covers the Charlotte matchup and gives you the support that Landy needs. So really solid option so far. Picks Bazaar Stene. That's a lot of souls right here. But the Bazaar does reveal the Landy, and Stene can one-shot her if it does come to that. And then we get the Belian and ooh, the carrot. That's gonna be hard to deal with for the opponent. He does pick the Charlotte, which is a really good option. But again, even if she didn't ban the Charlotte, she had the Crawl and the Amelia to deal with the Charlotte. So she didn't particularly have to ban the Charlotte. I honestly would have probably banned the Bazaar, me personally, just because I would have felt confident with my current draft to just ban the Bazaar and then out DPS with Landy. That's what I would have done personally. But everyone plays differently, and it looks like it worked out. I imagine what ended up happening is this Bazaar hit everyone, but the Stena didn't have enough damage to kill the Landy, or the Amelia was able to cut. But this Stena should have easily killed this Landy. And then the carrot... Crawl kills the maid. This strat should have been won by right side. Like, looking at it from the bans. Oh, counter POV? Okay, that's why. Yeah, if Landy doesn't die, you just win the game. That's the thing, though. If Stena doesn't kill, this draft wins. So the fact that it was a POV, Landy actually won the game. Because Basar pick is kind of dead in that situation. Even with attack buff, a POV Landy is not going to die to a Stena, and you can just cycle the Landy with Millie. And at that point, it's too much DPS. Alright, thanks for clarifying. The second you told me it's a counter POV, yeah. If this Landy lives, you win the game. So Landy won, which means you win the game, right? But if this Stena had killed the Landy, then it would have been the other way around. But if Landy lives, you get too much cycling out of speed buff and Amelia. So at that point, you just win. Camilla game, wow. Retro out here playing Camilla all the way in Champion or Emperor. That's crazy. Landy first pick, again, big fan. Doesn't pick the maid, actually goes for Fawn, Cecilia, and Amelia. Not a terrible way, but that does leave... Oh, maid is banned. I keep not looking at the maid bans. I need to start looking at the bans more. Yeah, maid is banned, so that makes sense. If maid is banned, Landy first pick is a little bit weird at this situation, because it's like, without maid threat, she's not the hardest thing in the world to counter, but then there's also Amelia, right? So I would rather secure some support. I guess he just didn't want to deal with Amelia Landy. I don't blame him, though. But then we see Fawn, Cecilia, Amelia. Pretty good support structure. Ruelle Ravi. He's going kind of slow here. If I see this, you could actually cleave it, right? At this point. You could Strasse it pretty easily. Very squishy, too. Not a lot of supports either. There's no attack buffer on the right side, because Amelia was taken. And the roll is nice, because it'll keep your team alive. The A Ravi takes a little bit while to ramp up. Camilla Strasse, we do see the Strasse. Okay, there's the Strasse that I imagine. The Camilla for the dual attacking. So right now, you know he's going aggro. And you go more you go more DPS. That's weird. And then Crow. What's a little weird is that you already see this team being hyper aggressive. And he's trying to like out damage it, but didn't put a speed threat. And the cross is going to die to the Strasse. So what I imagine ended up happening, Amelia probably pushed the RB up. It's still really winnable for right side, though. Because the Camilla feels like a dead pick. I'm actually kind of surprised he won this one. But then again, Fawn Cecilia's there. So, because she could push her up. Big AoE S3. Do a lot of damage on the Landy. Do a lot of AoE damage. Set up Fawn Cecilia S3. Camilla could dual attack and do damage, right? Interesting. I actually don't know how this game went out. I actually wish I could see this one. Looking at draft, I have no clue how it actually went. I imagine he pushed up the RB. RB S3 did good damage. He retaliated with Landy S3. Skill null ate the skill null ate it up. A Robbie did not kill the RB, right? That's not usually gonna kill, which means that he gets to S3 heal, and then he starts to get to dual attacking with her, and it's usually too much damage at that point for the Ruelle to keep up. That's the only thing I can think about, but I'm surprised A-Robbie didn't win this one. But then again, A-Robbie doesn't win them all. I've seen Legend players. That's true. That's true. You can always just gear gap or draft gap. But yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a cool draft. I like it. It's I could see it swinging both ways, depending on how turn order works out and how damage works out. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a Degen RB. I think it's a full damage RB. If it's Degen, though, I could also see it winning, just because the Camilla is just he's gonna be so focused on the RB. Camilla is just getting a bunch of turn cycling. And you get 1 decreased defense and you win. Caesarea New Pavel. So that's another one from Retro. Retro plays so many games, dude. Amelia first pick. Again, made his ban, so wants to secure the support. I respect it. Strasse of CC, which tells me it's aggro. And he goes Landy, Crimson Armin. Not bad, right? The only problem, if you go these 3, you're still susceptible to getting cleaved, right? Which is what he kind of did, right? Because this core, the only problem with Amelia Landy, right? And picking them this early into something like this it is so easy for someone to pivot into a cleave right here, right? So the fact that you still decided to go like squishy, the Crimson Armor was a good choice, but the Landy, you're still kind of squishy, right? So it's really easy for you to get DPS'd out. And then he grabs the AOL and the Polides to punish the Amelia. Really good option, double mage. But he answers with Rem and Ruel. That's 3 supports. There's no damage. So kind of a weird, picking this many supports is always a little weird. Especially because it could lead you to no damage. If he ends up going full tank, then you're kind of in trouble. But the AOL completely blocks your whole strategy, right? So that's why she had to get banned, but so does the police. Right? The Rem's not doing too much, and the Strauss is just blowing up the Crimson Armin, right? So I imagine this is a 260. I imagine it's a 260 Strauss. 260 Strauss opens, kills something, gets the push up. Caesarea S1s onto Ruel. Soulburn still has another Soulburn. Can Soulburn again hit the Landy or the Amelia and then S3 and stun them both, right? So he just got controlled. That's what I imagine happened. Caesaria's have pretty high effectiveness, right? The Rem is not a bad pick here. The Ruel was a little weird, but he just got controlled because this stuns, take away damage mitt, and this just stuns 2 targets. And then you still have the Fallen Cecilia for follow-up. And then if you do anything to heal, you get punished by the Polides. So, not a bad cleave. It's control cleave. Very, very interesting control cleave. I like it. Let's see this one. Ooh, Senya game. Wow, solo Senya DPS. Then again, right side was kind of squishy. But wow, solo Senya DPS. That's crazy. First pick at Fallen Cecilia is fine. Pro roll is fine too. I actually tried it for a while. It felt decent. But you're prone to getting blown up. Landy Amelia, right? Really good punish. Purrgis RB. This is where I think he messed up. This is not a very heavy DPS draft on its own, right? With this, you just usually ban the DPS, and if it's not enough to solo DPS, then you lose the game. So this 3-team core, you typically ban one of the DPSs out, and they're very low on the DPS side. But he picks Senya Amelia, which is an even weird... Oh, he picks... Let me see. First pick, responds... Or these 2 picks, responds... RBG, Purrgis a little weird here. The RB's fine because he does a lot of damage. And then Senya Ross. Yeah, left side has sustain, right side sustain is a little bit slower. This game must have taken ages. Like, this game must have taken ages. And the thing about it is, I don't know who wins. Because it's such a frenzy game that all you have to do... Well, the only thing that why I think left side wins is because the RB is always going to be at death's door. But if you keep Ruel alive for long enough and bring back RB at the right time, he just has to S3 at the right time, though. So it was probably just a thing like where, like, once you get into deep frenzy, Senya reflect damage is going to be starting to hurt a lot. Your RB is always going to be dying because RB doesn't need that many hits to die if it's not degen. And if it's degen, it would have taken forever. So this game probably was either a really deep frenzy game or something else. Neither side had damage, but the Senya reflect kind of wins these. So, and he had sustain. He has a little bit of sustain as well, but man, this is a frenzy game. I would hate to be in this game. This game would actually take ages. You're legit just like slowly poking each other until you get to high frenzy where things actually start mattering. Yeah. Purrgis a little odd there. What did he end up banning? Oh, he banned the Landy. I mean, Landy would have blown his team up. Landy would have made this fight go like this if he didn't ban it. The only thing he could have banned was the Fallen Cecilia and hope he could have the damage to blow the team up. But it's unlikely. Dead Boy Life, there's another one from Dead Boy Life. It's control one with Specimen Says, actually. First pick Cerise, which you don't see often. Oh man, Ram Landy. Alright, the thing about this, double DPS pick into a potential cleave. Think about that. Double DPS into a potential cleave. This team can get blown to smithereens. Right here, he probably already lost draft. Right? Yeah, no Violet. You can literally just super hard cleave. Oh, and no AOL either? Yeah. Right here, already, you're literally telling your opponent, please cleave me. But he did it, right? He probably didn't have the cleave. But he did aggro, right? So then he goes in, picks Keys and a Tywin, right? Very control-heavy draft, but really big single-target DPS. And his answer was Belian when there's no souls on the board. And RB, who is the one pick, I will say, this is a good pick. The RB was a good pick here. That one was fine. Responds with Blood Moon Haste and Specimen says, your RB is not seeing the light of day. You got hard punished. And then your final thing is Briarwitch against Eta. I do not understand the right side's draft. He just lost that draft. Like, this whole draft is just, you're losing draft at this point. There are so many things that will kill you in this situation. You're already setting up yourself a cleave. Easily. Right here, you have a chance to go anti-control, right? And he does pick the RB, but he does not pick an anti-control unit. And he gets punished for not picking an anti-control unit, ever. And the RB gets hard punished, and then you pick Briarwitch to deal with the Ammo Haste, but you're already going to get outsped by the Keysit and just blown up. Like, several times over. Unless this could be a fast spec, right? And you can't just... Yeah, this is... There's a lot of mistakes on right side draft. Left side draft, it's a little bit heavy on the control side too early. I would not... Cerise A Tywin does not work as good as AOL A Tywin does. But it's still a decent control core, and this is cool to see. This will work a lot earlier down when people don't have as many options to punish. Right? The less pool versatility that people have, the easier it is. But this guy set himself up for anything. Double DPS pick this early is kind of a throw. Unless you're like cleaving, right? If this is like a cleave Landy, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, BK, probably not too much longer because also getting... Wow, it's already getting really late. Oh, we saw... I'll do like a few more. But yeah, that one's an interesting draft on right side. Let's see this one from Hufer. Last try to crawl into Fallen Cecilia first pick. Okay, let's see how this one goes. Last try to crawl Landy, that's a lot of AoE damage, right? But you took away a lot of AoE answers. AOL is open. So AOL could have gotten picked right here and just absolutely marked these two units. So no AOL pick though. So that's good for Hufer. But this could have easily been an AOL. This duo gets punished by AOL, and you're also missing supports, right? There's no support to actually support your Landy so far. But you're pretty decent bulky core, right? You still have access to Amelia, right? But he goes with Stene, Basar. Basar not being the worst option because you're able to take away, again, it's more unbuffables. And then the Stene gives you a lot of damage for souls. We do see the Belian, which is actually not a bad pick here because you do have the two soul pickers, as well as you already took one of your counter picks. And let's see, it was this way. So you took, and then you take the Aravi again to take away another counter pick, right? Which is really solid. Already here, left side's winning draft because Basar's not doing anything at this point. You could ignore Basar completely, which is like, because if this Landy is a tanky Landy, you really don't care. And you don't have the damage right now. And he goes another non-damage unit, Rowana, to punish the Belian, which is fine. And then Violet, who is kind of a toss-up unit, right? And then the Mercedes last to punish the Stene and the rest of the team. So the big thing here is like you already know that he's gonna have to ban the Rowana, and picking the Violet does not do a lot this match. This guy legit said, I want to RNG this player. Yeah, if it's a counter POV, the Basar does nothing. So Basar's useless in the situation. You have no souls anymore because of Belian, right? So you're more likely to miss Debos. You're not killing the Aravi anytime soon. So Basar will CC will die. This guy legit picked Violet and said, I'm gonna try to luck sec this game because I already felt like I'd lost draft. Which is the things people do. So it's kind of a desperate pick. But I feel like there was still, it's kind of hard to salvage, but it was salvageable. Basar and non-aggro teams is a little weird. So Basar and non-aggro teams, it's really weird. It feels really bad to pick Basar and non-aggro teams. Because the second you pick Basar and a non-aggro team, they just out-Bruiser you and you don't kill anything, and then they just slowly cycle you out. But yeah, this Violet pick was legit just like a Hail Mary. That's the only thing I can imagine why he picked this unit. Left side, really solid draft. I mean, you didn't grab any supports, so they could have punished you harder here, but they didn't. The Basar is actually what threw the game for this guy. I would honestly have picked the support here, like Amelia, but not everyone uses Amelia. But if this guy looks like he's a very Bruiser heavy, he should consider building an Amelia. Because it would help a lot with Stennin when they ban the maid, right? And Basar's not a good answer to Landy anymore, so that's another thing. Well, yeah, that's one of the things about Fawn Cecilia first pick is not always the greatest. So, you have to watch out for that. Ducala rerun went, honestly, dude. Amelia's so bro. Like, I know I say Amelia a lot, but Amelia made are really, really important to have for Bruisers. Oh, man. AOL first pick. Love to see it. Made Stennin. Really, really good into AOL, by the way. This is a really good answer. Doesn't go for the Landy here. Goes for the maid for one reason and one reason only. Book plus maid. Hard punishes AOL. Right? Because you're able to soul burn with maid and immediately just set up into everything. Right? So, yes. That's a really good answer to AOL first pick. If you have this, that's a really good answer to AOL first pick. And the guy goes Rem when Violet's still on the board. That's kind of weird. And then goes Belian way too early. Way too early. Gets hard punished for it right here. Easily. And then Landy Amelia, which he should have done way earlier. But at that point, he puts Violet. And there's way too much stuff that counters this team. Right? The Belian's a dead pick. Rem's kind of a dead pick. AOL is getting banned. Because, like, unless you get a ton of dual attacks. Right? But even with dual attacking, then you have Rowana there. Right? So he really screwed himself up in draft here. AOL Rem doesn't work too well because with AOL on the board, it's the way that AOL wins is by you pumping out damage. But with Rem, she's such a slow unit, she's not going to have that reliable DPS, and you're getting punished by the Rowana, right? So it's a little weird. You still ban the AOL though, but he got hard punished for picking Belian this early. So the last shot crowd probably just took this game and ran with it, and the Stennin probably just did way too much damage. So he just didn't get to do anything. Right side threw a draft. Way too early. Way too early of a Rem pick. Way too early of a Belian pick. Got hard punished for both of them. Couldn't ban the whole side. Just lost. This honestly, you could not even go into the fight and just top right because it's almost no chance you win. Level 50 Sermia working and Scuff Stennin. And then first pick, not the worst thing on the planet. It secures you at DPS, but you have to be careful. Oh, you ban Pavel. Right, so they ban Pavel on F10 is banned, so not as important to grab Fallen Cecilia. And a lot of cleaves are closed, so it's not a bad option to pick Amelia here early. Another Landy Rem, dude. Why do people do this? Why do people pick Landy? If you're gonna pick double DPS, at least pick Violet. Because Violet's still on the board and will screw your Rem up. And immediately you see the Violet pick. If you're gonna pick double DPS with Rem, at least pick Violet. Pick Violet Rem. Don't pick Landy Rem. That just gets hard punished. But we do see the Stennin. Left side's really squishy. Right side does nothing to punish it. Right? No pivot, no nothing. Goes straight into Bruiser. Just goes his own way. This is why it's so important to have an aggro side to your teams. Because in this situation, the second I see this team, I'm like, wow, this team is really squishy. Let me play a little bit more aggro. Right? I would pick... Final Seal is fine, but I would pick another aggro unit here. Right? And then left side picks the Crimson Armament, which is fine. Carrot here is a little weird because Kraw's already picked. And so is Rem. And this guy responds with Robbie. If this was a Charlotte, the game would have been a lot different. But a little weird of a carrot pick here. Really weird Robbie pick here. Robbie does nothing in this situation. She's too slow. The Crimson Armament is going to put immunity for Stenna. He has a ton of souls, right? So the only way you won was by actually supporting the Landy. And he has no attack buff to actually support his win condition, which was right here. Right? Because and he had granted made, not everyone has made. But could have won. Could have still won from this right side draft because left side got really squishy. Could have easily aggroed it. I think if this was like something different, he could have actually won. So it is what it is. Not everyone has every unit, so you play with what you have, but it's tough. Not the best. He didn't punish the carrot at all. He had answers for both of these though with Landy. He just needed one more answer and he would have won. More on low challenger. First pick Crawl, which is fine. Amelia Landy, very common Can't get susceptible to pivot cleave. Doesn't go for pivot cleaving. It's pretty early on, so that's not something you see until way later. Another Rem pick with Violet still open on the board. And Aravi. And Landy's still on the board too, already on the other side. So, kind of a weird pick. Aravi's fine. The Rem is not, because you still leave this. Crimson Armor for self-sustaining, for support. The more, just to apply decreased defense. More actually does really good in the situation. Stena, pretty good here. Royal, not good here. There's no one-shotter on this side. There's no reason to pick Royal. I would have much rather have seen this be a support that does attack buff. Because once you ban the Landy, left side doesn't have that much damage. And you have access, you don't have access to last pick. So those are more last pick. But, again, people lose too early because they pick Rem way too early. That's something I do too. So it's a little rough. I lose to this too. I make this exact same mistake, but you should not be picking Rem too early if they have Violet still on the board, because they are going to pick it. It was still winnable in draft, but the only way that he won, Rem is dead, right? The only way he won was like somehow killing the Amelia before the game ramped out of control. But it looks like he wasn't able to do that, so he lost. Yeah, I mean, everyone has different ways of picking, but... And then the Baiken or low champion. That's really cool that he picked Baiken, but it's a speed unit. My guess, already just looking at this, Landy first pick is fine. Rem, way too early. Oh, Violet's banned, so Rem's not the worst thing in the world. The Arby's is kind of telegraphing a cleave. Really good punish to double DPS is just go super bulky where they do no damage. Picks the AOL Strasse. So it's committing to a very aggro team. And then speed contester, and the Strasse. This guy got gear gapped. I'm 99% sure that what ended up happening is left side just outsped. And even if you didn't outspeed, you don't have the damage to actually deal with this team properly at the right time. So yeah, I'm pretty sure left side just outsped, and then you just win. So you didn't have the Baiken would have to be like dummy fast, and she doesn't have the highest base speed on the planet. So the second that one of these units outspeeds, you lose the game instantly. So it's a risk that cleavers run. You get outsped, you lost. Alright, I'm gonna do two more because it's getting really late and I still have to finish posting the video. Man, y'all have some really interesting build habits, but I'm starting to see some like the mistakes. I also make mistakes myself, right? So it's not like everyone's perfect. And like what everyone always says, like hindsight 2020, that cannot be more true, you know? Like it's like you can always look back and see what you did wrong, but Stena first pick usually means you have to go pretty aggro because you're going to get punished by potentially Belian and others. Oh, Belian's banned. So Stena first pick's still fine here. Not a lot of punishes made too, so there's not a lot of support. FCC Landy, I would have honestly probably gone Amelia over FC. Oh, no, because you could get aggro. So not a bad option, actually. So this is a good solid drafting. Amelia Charlotte takes away the counter pick and for Stena and gets a counter pick to Landy. Elena, a really good answer into Charlotte. Carrot is okay into Stena, but you have access to last pick. A better AoE would have been better here. This situation, Rem would be okay, actually. Carrot's still good, but not... You have to draft... She takes brains to actually draft, right? So Carrot is not the worst pick in the world here, because she does counter Stena pretty hard. But Carrot into Stena is not a hard counter if Amelia's on the board. And he punishes it really hard with C-side AOL. So that's a really good punish to the Carrot. And he picks the Violet, but at this point, the Violet is not that good. Because you have access to Amelia and Charlotte. His best bet would actually have been to ban the AOL. That's the only way he won this game. You have to ban the AOL and hope you can... luck sack with Violet. That's the only way you would have won this game. Yeah, Mercedes would be better than Carrot in the situation because you get the attack buff for Landy. But really good punish here on this side. But this late in the draft, the Violet, you already picked the Violet, which is fine because you can still do pretty good into C-side and AOL. But the AOL screws up your whole strategy, right? Assuming they let Elena through, you just screwed yourself over, right? And then the Carrot is like, Carrot doesn't really do a lot here. It just easily gets cleansed. And you're not going to one-shot anything. Your only hope will legit to be try to like luck sack the C-side later on in the fight. So, The AOL is actually what screwed him though. That's rough. That's rough. But the left side, they're pretty good. Right side, probably just banned wrong. Could have still won, right? Could have still won if he banned the AOL over the Charlotte, because he already had a lot of answers to Charlotte. Like, he had the carrot and Lena for Charlotte, right? Yeah. So, still could have gone for a lick sack, but didn't end up doing it. All right, I'll do 2 more. Another Belian first pick. Y'all are so brave. Y'all are actually so brave. So you see Belian first pick, AOL ban, RB ban. Okay, so could potential cleave. Landy Rowana. Really early Rowana. You don't really have to reveal her this early. I would rather like secure maid than Rowana this early. But then he goes Operator Sigrid Strasse. At this point, you know you're getting cleaved. Seaside Tomoka is not the way to go, because if you get outsped, you lose, right? So this answer response to the draft was not that great. And then you see the Violet Faithless Lidica guaranteeing himself first turn. And at this point, this is a speed contester, right? Which is going to get banned. You just lose now. Like, you put so many squishy units and like no way to like deal with the cleave, right? So that's why Rowana this early is not needed, right? You can play a little bit more supportive. Here was fine. He lost here. When you see Operator Sigurd Strasse and Belian, that's cleave. Instant cleave. Instantly. You know you're getting cleaved. That's like, you already know that. You see that, you know, right? And then I don't like the response. That's a poor response on right side, and left side punished it really well. So left side actually knew what they were doing. They were there to punish Belian picks. I imagine this is a speed DPS Belian. I would not be surprised if this is a speed DPS Belian rather than like a counter one. So it's a good babe. There's a lot more that I would wish I could go through, but it's already getting late and I do have to post the video. So this is kind of fun. I enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit shorter stream. I've been kind of busy with things in life. So hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Let me know if you guys liked it. We'll probably be back to RTA on Thursday though, and actually playing. That reminds me, let me check my runs, how they're doing. Yeah, Katie's takes forever, dude. But I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna have to feed all of these. Slowly but surely we're gonna get Katie's on pieces. Just to make sure I do it every time I'm like streaming or doing something like that. Right on yours. I did get to see a couple of yours, Tab. Oh, it is a counter set one? Man, I managed to just kind of like blew through it. So it was cool drafts though. I enjoyed watching them. But I'm gonna wait for this one to run out because I wanted to see where I am in RTA. And someone asked for a Landy build earlier, but I couldn't get to it. But yeah, this is my Katie's team. It's kind of fun. It's a little fun little Katie's team. It's not the fastest in the planet, but if like Caesar lands her debuffs, it does decent damage. I really wish they nerfed the boss's HP though. Oh, Solitaria, dude, I actually like fought a legend level Solitaria and she's actually so broken. Like the more I fight against Solitaria, the more I'm like, man, this unit can be really good in the right hands. So please tell me I stopped it. Okay, I did stop it. We're gonna extract all of these. And get our pen sets. I appreciate it. I do like looking at matches. I still need to do a tournament. It's been a long time since we did a tournament. Like actually a really, really long time. I've been kind of slacking on this. But yeah. They had a violent SSV, so perfect timing. Yeah, that's true. So let's see. Yeah, we're doing pretty good right now. We're actually doing good. Well, I don't know what we're doing differently, but we're doing good. We still lose a couple. And you'll see me lose, like the mistakes I lose to. Will be, like if you're wondering why I do crawl Landy, is because I don't want to get cleaved. That's the big thing. I think I lost because I picked Belian. I was having too much fun. Yeah, I lost right here. I'm stupid. I really picked Belian into nothing, into Bazaar. Oh, that's so greedy of me. That is so greedy of me. No wonder I lost this draft. That is not the response into a Ravi or Bazaar. So this was just me trying to have fun with Belian. And I lost because of it. Really hard too. This one I actually won. Let me see. How did I lose this one? Oh, I went Fallen Cecilia instead of Crow. Yeah, he punished me really good with double Charlotte here too. So, and we didn't get a luck sack. Yeah, I remember this one. He just blew up my Arawi. Tourney, I don't know when. It's kind of a partner to guild tourney. Guild tourney first, please. Yeah, we should do a guild tourney first, please. Let's probably do a guild tourney first. Probably would be fun. We'll maybe host a guild tourney. But yeah, legend level Solitaras are actually insane. Pen set for what? Mitchell. Pen set is arguably the best set for Violet and Luna and Kisei and a Kali. Like if you're a single target DPS, and a Ravi. There's a... Right now I'm using this piece. Dude, it actually bumps up the damage. So I'm so excited to put this on an actual DPS, but I need it for farming KDs. Right, this is the only reason it's on Surmia right now is for farming KDs. But this is gonna go on my Luna. And my Luna's about to smack, dude. Oh my goodness. But let me show y'all. Man, y'all are gonna make me want to show y'all pen set. Let me see this. So let's take a look at Lunar, right? And let's do my Luna, whose stats are something like this, right? My Luna looks exactly like this, right now. If I'm attacking a tank, right? This is how much damage I'm doing right now, right? I'm doing on S1 11,000, right? So let's assume because of pen set, I lose some attack because I have to get the crit rate somehow. So let's say I lose 100 attack, right? But I get penetration set. Look how much higher the damage is on that S1, right? The only thing we changed was we gave her pen set. That from this, right? It's an extra 1,000 to 2,000 damage, just raw, that you're missing. Just on a single target DPS unit, right? So that's why pen set. And imagine if you had the same gear quality. If you had the exact same gear quality and didn't change anything, just dropped a little bit of speed instead and dropped no damage stats, you're losing basically almost 2,000 damage for not using pen set. So it's just, even on her S3 that penetrates defense, that's still just 1,500 damage, just raw, that you're missing, right? This is the difference between killing in 2 shots and killing in 3, right? For a lot of situations. It's way too much damage that you're missing without pen set. Think of Violet too. Same thing with Violet. Violet's in the exact same boat, where if you don't have pen set, you're just essentially, every time you S1, you're missing 2,000 damage, just raw, for not having pen set. Like, that's too much. That's too much. That's why pen set is so freaking good. Oh, my Landy build. Yeah, you did ask for that earlier, Mitchell. I'm one of the few that doesn't run Proof of Valor Landy because I don't know why, but I really like having some sustain in my teams. And I just feel like if they're not one, usually I have a Bloodstone on her. So think of an artifact. It's just I need it for KDs. This is my Landy. It's a tanky one, close to 3k damage. Not on Proof of Valor, but the idea is that if they don't one-shot her, and I'm going against teams that are tankier, Bloodstone gives me more mileage than Proof of Valor. So in a game that lasts long, Bloodstone gives more value than Proof of Valor. Proof of Valor is only there to make sure Landy doesn't get one shot at the start of a fight. Bloodstone is there to carry you later on. How do you get level 90 gear, Mataya? So I kind of talked about it in like a Reforge video, but I can show you real quick. You would go here into the Steel Workshop and you would go into the Reforge section and you would Reforge. And you get Reforge materials by farming higher levels of hunts. So you would grab one of your... It only works for level 85 gear, but once you get a level 85 piece, no matter where it's from, if you have the materials from that hunt that is necessary for making it, you can Reforge it and you get extra stats on your level 85 gear, as long as it's maxed out. But yeah, Bloodstone is good for extended fights, and Proof of Valor is good for early game fights. It can be hunt gear or crafted gear or world boss gear, as long as it's level 85 gear, basically. It will work. If it says level 85, it will work. There's no other level 85 gear besides those, so. All event gears are level 88. They're not 85. It has to say explicitly 85. 88 gear won't work. 79 gear won't work. You want to build this type of Landy? What are my thoughts about on speed Landy? It's playstyle dependent. If I'm being completely honest with you, there are times I wish I had speed Landy. So it's one of those things that for DPS Landy, the biggest drawback of this Landy is how slow she's going to be, because you have to sacrifice so much speed to get these defensive stats. That's the biggest problem with this particular Landy build, but you give all that up for the chance to counterattack and cheese your opponent. On the other hand, with speed Landy, it's more understandable to use guiding light, right? For speed Landy, you have to have guiding light. If you're using speed Landy, you want to have guiding light, because without guiding light, you lose to a lot of stuff in this game. If you don't have this very bulky Landy build, you will get blown up, essentially. Unless you're also using Proof of Valor, but even then, it's like, then at that point, it's you lose all the benefits of counter set and you get none of the benefits of speed set. So if you don't have guiding light, a counter build works fine. Proof of Valor is a free artifact you can get from guilds. So you can definitely do that and have a very bulky Landy. The only problem is, again, you lose to single target DPSs like Riolet because you can't hide in Guiding Light, and you can't out-cycle your opponent as good as if you had a Speed Landy. Speed Landy is more DPS per second, but this has a higher chance to turn games around and do more S3s. So I personally really like it because I play really Bruiser and slow. I don't really care about taking too many turns early on, but it does suck because I don't have light. And there's a lot of times that they'll just one-shot me with a Riolet, or they'll stun her with a Maid, right? The Maid one's actually the most toxic one. The matchup into Maid is not as bad of a matchup for Speed Landy as it is for Counter Landy, or for like the other way around. For Speed Landy, it's a really good matchup into Maid. For Counter Landy, it's still really good, but it's not as good. So that's my thoughts on Landy. There's no level 85 gear from Abyss, is there? Is it 85? I always said it was 88. Oh yeah, my bad. I forget that. Okay, there's that one situation that, yes, Abyss. I forget Abyss has level 85. I swear it's the only pieces that are level 85. They should let you reforce them though. They really should. They're legit the one situation where you have level 85 gear that is not just from anywhere else. My Landy is usually on Bloodstone, but right now it's not on there. Usually, yeah, Gavelites. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's the one set, dude. Though, yeah, okay, y'all got me. There's that one set in Abyss that you can't reforge. That's it. That's the only set. Everything else is just basically level 85 gear. I just say that because there's also like the reforge, there's Robust. So there's a lot of people that could get confused if I don't like specify. But yes, that set actually makes me mad every time I equip it, because I'm like, why is this level 85? It's just actually garbage now. So it's just good for early game. All right, that is going to be it. And yes, I did hear about that. But that is going to be it. That's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed the match analysis. Hopefully it helps you guys in your own RTA matches. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Peace.